business, court, international and sports news from our Sun FM News Centre. This is Sun FM News with Demelda Chikwati.
Good evening, glad you could join us. Here are the headlines. Government says it is committed to ensuring that retirees are paid, but noted with sadness that some of their lawyers had misappropriated funds. The Civil Society Scaling Up Nutrition Alliance, CSOSAN, has urged government to ensure that the food-based dietary guidelines, once finalized, are distributed to all institutions engaged in farming. Livingston Mayor Eugene Mapoor has expressed delight with the launch of the recycling plant project in the district by Meadow Cleaning Services, saying it will help boost the attraction of tourists in the district. FAS MTN Super League defending champions Zesco United Football Club was this afternoon humbled by Nkwazi FC 3-0 in a rescheduled Super League match played at Edwin Imboela Stadium in Lusaka. The news in detail. Government says it is committed to ensuring that retirees are paid, but noted with sadness that some of their lawyers had misappropriated funds. Speaking at a media briefing in Lusaka today, Chief Government Spokesperson Dora Silia said it was sad to see most of them line up at Cabinet Office. She said the Ministry of Finance had released funds to pay off some retirees in order to have a few left on the list. Ms. Silia explained that some retirees were paid through their lawyers but did not receive the money, causing them to go back to government.
The retirees is a very, very sad situation. I have just come from from Cabinet Office myself, where I was attending a meeting, and I saw some retirees there. But to say that government has done nothing is not correct. In fact, government has been releasing money. I think that government has released money in one situation where the lawyers engaged by some retirees misappropriated even the money that was released to them. But I can tell you the President himself, the Minister of Finance, and all of us are very concerned, because what we wish for each one of you and for ourselves is that once you have worked, what is due to you must be given. I think that the Minister of Labour, the Minister of Finance will continue to apply themselves this year on how do we restructure retirement in this country for it not to experience the problems we are having.
Meanwhile, government has commended the 38 millers who have come on board to work together with government and the tripartite agreement with the Food Reserve Agency and the Grain Traders Association in reducing mealie meal prices. Ms. Silia said government was aware of the fact that some families were having challenges in obtaining a bag of mealie meal, further hoped that reductions would be extended nationwide. And government has expressed optimism that this year's farming season would yield good harvest, provided that the weather pattern remained the same.
The government is very aware of the challenges that families are facing in terms of food prices, and that's why we're very, very pleased that these millers have now begun to implement the new prices, and we hope that very soon this will be a nationwide occurrence, so that everybody can have access to food, and hopefully that this year's harvest will be good enough to see prices reduce even further. We're also very happy with the participating retailers who are working with government and want to share the incentive that government is giving, the subsidy, and passing it on to the consumers so that the consumers can have some relief in terms of food.
While the minister has since revealed that discussions would be held in order to help the taxation in the film industry, exportation of equipment. The minister noted that the film industry had a major role to play in improving the country's gross domestic product, GDP. She said more needs to be done to help support the industry, citing nations like Nigeria, which had raised the bar in the industry.
It is important that we begin these discussions at the beginning of the year because the budget process by the Ministry of Finance begins about April, and it's important that we begin to work together now, especially through the PS, so that we can lobby the Ministry of Finance to see what kind of tax incentives and relief can be given to the film industry. Ourselves in this ministry, we believe that development of the film industry in Zambia is a hanging fruit for jobs. Everybody wants a job opportunity. Now, government can't provide all the jobs. The existing private sector can't provide all the jobs. For young people to have an opportunity to get jobs, we need new industries to open, and one of them is the film industry.
A concerned social activist has appealed to President Edgar Lungu to effect some changes in the way the country is governed in order to alleviate people's sufferings. Social activist Michael Zulu stated that citizens were not happy with the governance system because they were hungry, the economy was crumbling, and had also lost faith in institutions such as the Zambia Police Service, Anti-Corruption Commission ACC, as well as the Electoral Commission of Zambia ECZ, and needed this faith back in these institutions. He explained in an interview that the Yellow Card campaign in 2019 was inspired by abuse of public resources, as cited in the Financial Intelligence Center FIC report, and further wondered how 6.1 billion kwacha could be abused when children were dying in hospitals, with many students not accessing bursaries. He said he got concerned as a social activist and a patriotic Zambian to rise up and speak on behalf of the majority Zambians, describing the Yellow Card campaign as a huge step in terms of activism in Zambia because it was a citizen-driven campaign as opposed to an organizational-driven campaign. He, however, commended government for listening to the voices of activists regarding the firing of former Finance Minister Margaret Mwanakatwe, including deferring Bill 10 to February 2020. He said the Yellow Card campaign looked at all other issues, including the controversy surrounding Bill 10, adding that the deferment would not have happened had it not been for the voice of activists, and further thanked Alliance for Community Action and Caritas Zambia for their prudence and support towards the campaign. The social activists said that the ultimate aim of activism was to incite change, especially in the social and political landscape, and further urged individuals and organizational activists to remain patriotic and continue having the passion for the country in order to instill positive change in the nation. We don't seem to have that soundbite ready. We continue with more stories. Livingston Mayor Eugene Mapur has expressed delight with the launch of the recycling plant project in the district by Meadow Cleaning Services, saying it will help boost the attraction of tourists in the district. Gracing the occasion today at the Livingston Civic Center, Mr. Mapur said the establishment of the company had come at the right time when the council was working towards achieving zero waste in the district. He said the recycling plant would come with a multitude of benefits, such as employment and reduction of waterborne diseases. Mr. Mapur further noted that waste management would no longer be a burden for the council, but would be a money spinner, as it would be sold to Meadow for purposes and subsequently be sold to the end users.
I wish to assure you that you have our complete support at the local authority, and we shall create a good working environment for you so that your project becomes sustainable in our city. To this end, it is not a time for long speeches, but time to assure you as community and remember that we shall work together. You are aware that still we remain the cleanest city in the country, and so I now officially launch your project.
Earlier, Meadow Cleaning Services Managing Director Odile Furaha said the company seeks to establish its existence across the country, bearing in mind that there was poor management of waste among the citizenry that had equally contributed to the negative effects of climate change. Ms. Furaha said for a start the company was targeting markets and densely populated communities so that the positives of proper waste management could be felt there and then.
Our goal is to expand our activities in all parts of Zambia, and if necessary, why not across the borders? Why do I say so? Our guest of honor, the mayor of Livingstone City, this is because with the vision of Meadow Cleaning Services, focusing on our objective to make Zambia a better place to live in, clean and healthy, improving the well-being of the citizen and different groups of people living in Zambia by creating job opportunities for each and everyone to reach the financial freedom. It will be a good example to the whole Africa and across its borders.
The Zambia National Students Union, ZANASU, has condemned Evelyn Horn College management for running the institution without a students' union to represent the student community on matters affecting them. In a statement made available to the media, ZANASU President Mishe Kakonde reminded management that for Evelyn Horn to exist by law, it was supposed to recognize a student union and respect its existence. Mr. Kakonde added that at the time of registration of institutions, one of the requirements was that a students' union constitution should always be submitted to ministries in charge. Mr. Kakonde has since implored Evelyn Horn College students to hold management accountable.
The management at Evelyn Horn College must be cautioned, and they must be serious in the way they execute, the things that they're supposed to do to the students. We cannot have a situation where last year students have been existing without a students' union. They must be guided that by law, it is a must that a student union should exist at any university or college or trade school. So they must be barricaded and quarantined because they are unprogressive in the way they are doing things. Students are paying union fees, which is equivalent to 70 kwacha. Multiply that by 12,000 plus students. Where is the money and who's going to be, taking care of that money? It is just through the students' union that different projects are going to be executed. We must warn management that we are going to take legal action if they do not want to cooperate.
The Civil Society Scaling Up Nutrition Alliance, CSO-SAN, has urged the government to ensure that the food-based dietary guidelines, once finalized, are distributed to all institutions engaged in farming, such as the Zambia National Service and the Zambia Correctional Service, to influence nutrition-sensitive crop production. CSO-SAN Country Coordinator Matthews Mohoro said that the guidelines are being developed by the Ministry of Agriculture with support from the Food and Agriculture Organization had potential to change the nutrition picture of Zambia as they provide advice on foods, food groups and dietary patterns to provide the required nutrients to the general public in order to promote overall health and prevent chronic diseases. Mr. Mohoro said it was gratifying that the food-based dietary guidelines, apart from prohibiting consumption of unhealthy foods, were also intended to establish a basis for public food and nutrition, health and agricultural policies and nutrition education programs to foster healthy eating habits and lifestyles. He further expressed concern that poor diet remained one of the major contributors to malnutrition in Zambia, which was influenced by many factors from personal preferences to the broad national availability of foods. We take a break, return with sports news.
From the Copperbelt's capital, Ndola. From the Copperbelt's capital, Ndola. The sun rises over the horizon of Zambia's capital, Lusaka. A new strong wave of radio capturing your listening pleasure. Sun FM is now live in Lusaka and surrounding areas on 95.3 FM.
Thank you so much for still staying with us. And now, sports news. FAS MTN Super League defending champions Zesco United Football Club was this afternoon humbled by Nkwazi FC 3-0 in a rescheduled Super League match played at Edwin Imboela Stadium in Lusaka. Starting from a 2-0 bashing at the hands of Egyptian giants Zamalek in the CAF Champions League Group A match last week, the Electricity Boys needed to up their game to collect 3 points against the Nkwazi side that seemed to have found their winning formula going by the results they have been posting in the last 2 games. The Zambia police-sponsored side found the back of the net in the 18th minute through Eric Chomba to give the men in uniform victory. Meanwhile, Zanaco Football Club beat Nkana Football Club 2-1 at Sunset Stadium. The Bankers cashed in goals through Chipolopolo, under 23 left back Kebson Kamanga and Ernest Mbewe, while Nkana reduced the arrears through Fred Shimenga. The win pushes Zanaco out of relegation zone with 16 points from 14 games they have played. In more sports news, Zanaco has signed former Lusaka Dynamos midfielder William Jovu, who becomes the second signing for the Bankers, following the swift acquisition of Kenyan goalkeeper Ian Otieno from Red Arrows. The former Zambia under-20 national team midfielder has already worked with the Bankers' new coach, Chris Kaunda, having spent the last 2 seasons together at Nkwazi Football Club. The 32-year-old will add more options to the Zanaco midfield following the departure of Zimbabwean midfield Tafazwa Rusike, who has since joined defending champions Zesco United. And the Football Association of Zambia has asked Power Dynamos to explain how band administrator Blackwell Swale was allowed access to Arthur Davis Stadium on Sunday during their Super Division match against Mofulera Wanderers. But Power says allowing Swale in the stadium was an oversight, according to sources. They say FAS has written to the 1990 Mandela Cup champions, saying it has noted with concern that some members have been freely mingling and entertaining officials who are serving bans. The FAS constitution stipulates that members are prohibited from entertaining or associating with band officials. Clubs that deal with band officials in a contravention of the Constitution may face sanctions as provided for in the FAS Constitution, Article 14. Band officials are not allowed to participate in any football activity, which include attending football matches or convening meetings with members. That's it for Sunset News. Before we go, the headlines once again. Government says it is committed to ensuring that retirees are paid, but noted with sadness that some of their lawyers had misappropriated funds. The Civil Society Scaling Up Nutrition Alliance, CSO-SAN, has urged government to ensure that the food-based dietary guidelines, once finalized, are distributed to all institutions engaged in farming. Livingston Mayor Eugene Mapuo has expressed delight with the launch of the recycling plant project in the district by Meadow Cleaning Services, saying it will help boost the attraction of tourists in the district. And in sports news, FAS MTN Super League defending champion Zesco United Football Club was this afternoon humbled by Nkwazi FC 3-0 in a rescheduled Super League match played at Edwin Imboela Stadium in Lusaka. On behalf of the entire production crew, my name is Imelda Chukwati. Good evening.
You just know it's coming, right? That moment when everything goes when you hear
From the Copperbelt's capital, Ndola, the sun rises over the horizon of Zambia's capital, Lusaka. A new strong wave of radio capturing your listening pleasure. Sun FM is now live in Lusaka and surrounding areas on 95.3 FM.